Good day, and welcome to A Place Called Through. I am the host, Patricia Wade Goings, and I welcome you to this place called Through Inspirational Moments. And we're broadcasting from WYTV7 Community Broadcasters Network. Here at A Place Called Through, we share stories from real people. Everybody is going through something. Your story may not be like mine, and mine may not be like yours, but we are going through. And we do go through together. As unbelievable it may seem, yes, we all are going through different things at different times, but it's that togetherness. That's our mission of hope, where we share stories to empower, encourage, and inspire people. That is our mission. And we just want to take that time out to thank those that have sown into this ministry, this mission of hope, so that we can continue to share these stories as we do so globally. And if you haven't gotten that opportunity, guess what? We sure appreciate you going to wytv7.org, sow that seed into this ministry so that we can continue. And we want to welcome our guest today with us, Miss Angela Thomas Smith, who is here to share a story. She is a survivor. She was wounded, but she is a survivor. And that's our topic today: wounded, but I survived. Welcome to A Place Called Through, Miss Smith.
Hello, hello.
Welcome again to A Place Called Through. And we want to talk to our listeners and our viewers today about, you went through some really turbulence in your life, as many of us, have had those experiences of different phases of turbulence. Some are more unique than others. But we want to talk to you really about, your woundedness and how you were able to survive, and some of the things that you're currently working on, which we'll hope to get to, at the latter part of this programming today. But we want to talk to you about the woundedness, because from an early age in your childhood life, you had some significant things that were happening to you. Kids growing up, loving their families. Your parents are pretty much all that you know. But for you at an early age, there were some significant changes to your family dynamics. So would you bring us into that point about your childhood and some things that were going on with you?
So I pretty much grew up in a single family home with my mom. Age 16, 12 days after my 16th birthday, my mom passed away from complications of lupus. And then as a teenager, I thought that, my dad would step in and be a dad. I didn't know that my dad struggled with substance abuse. That was something that my family hid very well. I did not find out until I was an adult that that was a problem that was keeping my dad from being in my life. And as I look back over my life, I don't regret not having my dad in my life, because I realized that everything happened for a reason. I didn't have the best life. I didn't have the best 11th and 12th grade year. You would think I was a star basketball player. You would think a girl that was getting ready to go off to college and possibly break some generational curses would be loved on, would be cared for, would be treated like a princess. But I received the exact opposite. I was treated like a stepchild. My aunt took me in, who was my dad's sister, and it seemed like I was the one that never did anything right. Everything that went wrong in our home was always my fault. There were plenty of days I cried myself to sleep. And I questioned God. I wondered why I had to go through this. Why was this my journey? And as I just began to go on through life, I lost a lot of people in my life.
So let me pause you right there, Ms. Smith. Let me just pause you there. Unfortunately that you did lose your mother at a very early age, and your father, just really was not there for you as you wanted him to be. And as we all believe that, yes, if we lose a parent, the other significant parent would be there. So what, in addition to having to be sheltered by other family members, what was so significant here with you losing your mom, because that's, like you said, a single family home. You were closest to your mom. Do you have other siblings?
I have other siblings. I'm the youngest of four kids. My sister, she stepped in. She took care of me and my brother. Of course, my brother was off in college. He was a freshman in college at the time. But my sister stepped in. She did what she could do. She tried to be the best parent that she could be. But she couldn't. So I got shipped off to my aunt. And that was, to me, it was like living in hell on earth. When people were supposed to pour into you and uplift you, you got torn down. Words hurt. And I tell people all the time, those things stick in your mind. There were days when you gonna be just like your daddy. That was things that I heard.
Mhm.
All I knew that my dad was not there. I didn't know what was going on. Nobody said anything.
So you
So
got, it was that hush hush situation, and that does happen, in very families where, things that may be significant to you, and you're looking and hoping that family will step up and say it, it becomes, as they say, swept underneath the rug. And, in the small rural areas, particularly in the South, a lot of times the neighbors and the people in the community and the churches, they know the story, but they don't share it with you either. So nobody really in your community would ever, say
but
anything.
you have to understand that we were all family. Everybody that lived on my street was either my first cousin or my second cousin. We lived in the country. I'm from the country. 252 acres of land is just us. So yeah, my family, they knew what was going on, but everybody have their own problems. When you got four kids that you got to take care of because they dad not there, then you can't really be concerned about Angela and Quinn. I got three over here I got to take care of.
And
A lot of people did
understandable.
the best that they could do.
So
I don't fault. I don't fault a lot of my family members, because a lot of them did what they could do. They would share encouraging words when they could. They would always say, it's not gonna always be like that. I remember my grandmama telling me that it's not gonna always be like that, baby. She say, just pray, and I was put in a place where I had to be strong. I was put in a place where I didn't have time to grieve. I had to grow up because I had to defend for myself. I had to realize that I was in this for me. That when my mom left, everything in me left. That was my best friend. That was the person that did everything for me until she couldn't do it no more. And I was with my mom when she took her last breath. I thank God for my coach, because that lady would drive her car to the games so that she could take me to the hospital to be with my mom. She didn't have to do that. People like her were the people that gave me the strength to press on in spite of how my home life was going. I learned how to wear the mask early in life because I had to put on a mask to go to school, because I couldn't let people know that this was what was going on at my home. Couldn't let them know that this was going on inside my home, because when society see your family at a standard, then they look at your family at a standard. And if you say something against that, then you already the black sheep, because you the guest in the home. So I learned how to wear a mask early. I learned how to mask feelings. I learned how to be nonchalant. I learned how to lie. I learned how to hurt in silence.
So let me ask you another question. Okay, you lost your mom at the age of 16, and then your father, what kind of reaction? I mean, was he just avoiding the fact that now, his wife, the mother of the children, has passed away?
Well, my mom was a single parent. He was not around from the beginning. So, it wasn't, you would hope that he would step in, because that's what normal people do. But again, like I said, there were other issues. There was drug abuse that people hid. They hid that, covered. He was a working addict. My dad drove heavy equipment. He worked for a construction company, so he was always out of town. It wasn't like we was used to seeing him around. He always worked because he was always laying down something. He was always driving. We always saw him on the go. So him not being around, it was my aunt taking care of us. That's his sister. So it was just like she communicated with him, so we would think that everything was okay.
And so you lived.
They knew what was going on. They knew what was going on because he would send money. We never saw the money. Stuff like that. Like before my dad left here, me and my dad had an amazing relationship. For 9 years, I had my dad, and we developed a relationship out of this world. And my dad was able to share things with me that I didn't even know was taking place. Like my dad was trying. I didn't know that. You don't find out until you ask questions. It took me telling my dad one day. I knew I hurt his feelings, but I didn't care because I was upset with him because I felt like you never was there for me. Now, I want you to feel what I felt all my life.
So you were at a point that, okay, if you could pay him back for your hurt, you wanted to pay him back because you wanted him to feel your pain.
Yeah, but God wouldn't allow me to do that.
And so you continued on to live with your aunt for how long?
Until I graduated. I graduated in 93, went off to junior college for 1 year. I went there. I did not like that school. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was not going back to that school. And I was forfeiting my scholarship. And I decided that I was going to go to Atlanta because my sister had moved to Atlanta. And I went to get a job at Hardee's, and I would go to work every morning, and I would get off about 2:00. And every day I would come home and I would call schools because I didn't know nothing about HBCUs, and I didn't know nothing about nothing because nobody told me nothing. They sent me off to junior college and they just said, go. So I was just calling schools and just telling them about myself. And I called Morris Brown. The coach called me back, and he never seen me play before, never done anything. He said, I want to meet you. He came out to my house. He met me and my sister. And that year, that fall, I started at Morris Brown College playing basketball. And that was a turning point in my life. That was a point where I began to realize that there was a purpose, that I had a purpose, that there was something that I was supposed to be doing here, and that God had gave me a second chance by allowing me the opportunity to go to Morris Brown on scholarship.
And that's awesome, because in spite of all that you were dealing with and that you were going through, the uniqueness of God, how he even still placed people in your life that were still able to provide and guide you through these turbulent times in your life, unbeknown to you that your story would unfold into such a uniqueness, as we're going to get to shortly as we come back after the commercial break momentarily, about how God turned your life around. You were wounded, but you survived. And your survival has now been able to help other people to survive, maybe in some of the similar, if not some of the same situation. So, once we come back from this commercial break, we're going to, move on a little bit more rapidly into now your survival mode, because you've gone off to college and, sure, you're still having these emotions because your parents are not there with you and everything. And pretty much everybody that you knew and that you were associated with, they are part of your past now. So we want you to just stay tuned, sit tight. We'll be right back shortly after this commercial break. And we're going to come back and we'll continue talking with Miss Angela Thomas Smith, Wounded, But I Survived. Stay tuned. We'll be right back at A Place Called Through.
Calling all HBCU alumni, supporters, and golfers. It's that time of year again. Yes, the HBCU Swing Into Their Dreams Charity Golf Tournament on Tuesday, April 5th. If you missed the last one, you have time once again to be epic. Don't miss the golf tournament of the year, the Swing Into Their Dreams HBCU Charity Golf Tournament at the Atlanta National Golf Club in Milton, Georgia, Tuesday, April the 5th. Registration begins now. Sign up your golf teams at swingintotheirdreams.com. That's swingintotheirdreams.com or call 770-686-7148. That's 770-686-7148. Don't miss it.
And welcome back to A Place Called Through. I'm the host, Patricia Wade Goings, and we are broadcasting from WI TV7 Community Broadcasters Network. Today on our Inspirational Moments, we're talking to Miss Angela Thomas Smith. Her theme today has been about being wounded, but yet surviving. You know, far too many times people are wounded and they don't often survive. You know, either it's because of physical injury or it could be even mental injury. And she has endured both the loss of parents, loss of relationships. But again, she has been wounded, but yet now she is a survivor. And in her survival mode, she's helping other people to survive. And we're going to talk to her now about methods of survivors that has helped her get to this place where she is in her place called through. We were picking up with her about her relationship. She's lost, her parents, has been shifted, to family members to live, and then went off to college. But fortunately for, Ms. Smith, there was a coach, there were a few people that really helped her get through what she had already been through. And so from that point now, she's moved on to another chapter in her life. So Ms. Smith, now that you've gone to college, you've come out of college, what's going on in your life at that point?
So I go off to college. I did not graduate because I'm currently in school, but I went off to college. I played basketball for about 3 years. Life happened, decided to go some different roads, and ended up, we're going to fast forward, ended up going through some domestic violence situation. I was actually shot point blank range with a sawed-off shotgun. Didn't see it coming. But again, we don't know the backstory behind a lot of things that happened in our lives. Didn't know what was going on at that time, my husband's life. But we were dealing with a situation where his daughter had been molested. And during that time, fast forward, I ended up being shot point blank range with a sawed-off shotgun. Drugs were involved because at that time he was using drugs and I didn't know. But I woke up in the hospital. My niece was standing over me. My dad was sitting off to the left of me. And I hear the doctors tell my dad that if I walk, it may be months, it may be years. But the God that I serve, the physical therapist people walked into my room about 3 hours later. And they asked me if I wanted to walk. And I said, yeah. They hooked me up. We walked down the hall and we was going past a nurse station. Everybody was looking at me like they saw a ghost, like I was crazy. And the physical therapist asked me, did I want to continue walking? I said, yeah. So we walked to the end of the hall, walked back. Long story short, I ended up walking out of the hospital 3 days later, never went to physical therapy, never went to occupational therapy. God is good. He allowed me to heal within probably 3 months because I had a gash in a hole in my leg where my cousin, she was my personal nurse. She came, she packed me. And you could see, I would see her hand disappear in my leg as she was packing my wound. But now there's a scar that reminds me. But when I was on my bed of affliction, I asked God if he would raise me up, that I would share his goodness, and he did that. And when he raised me up, I didn't want to, I knew I didn't want to preach. I didn't want to be in the pulpit because that's not what he had called me to. But I wanted to share his goodness, and he allowed me to share it through books. So I was able to share my first in my first anthology through sharing my testimony about my mom. and how I got through that. And, it was called From Fear to Freedom, because there was a time where I truly was in fear, and I'm free now. Everything that I've been through in my life, I've been broken, but I don't, a lot of people, they regret a lot of things that they went through in their life. But as I look back over my life, everything that I went through was necessary. It was necessary for where God has me at today.
Because you're a survivor, and that's who God has created you to be, a survivor. And truly you are. And one of the things that you had said when we previously talked was, and I want to quote this, going through, we think nobody understands, because your story is your story and you've been there, you have gone through so much. But we're going to take it away from there, because you have some unique programs going on. And one of the things that you talked about was getting back into the schools and helping the kids to read. So can you bring us, our listeners and our viewers to that part now? You are a published author. You have several programs going on, but I want to talk about how you gave back to, the community, to the kids.
So when I was in Anderson, me and another young lady, we started the after school program and a summer program, because we wanted to do something to impact the kids. We were doing the food service programs where we was feeding them, but we wanted to do something else because there was a need. And at that particular time, South Carolina was ranking between number 1 and number 3 in domestic violence, but we was ranking number 50 in education. And that was a serious problem with me. Being a domestic violence survivor, that was a problem. And I wanted to do something to help my kids. And I did that program. Me and my partner, we did that program, and our kids would complain every day about what we were doing. And I wanted to do something different. So I asked them, well, what is it that y'all want to do? And they started rambling off all this stuff. Well, I want to be a doctor. Can you bring some? They were saying things because they didn't think that we were going to be able to do the things that they were saying. So everything that they were asking us, they was asking for doctors that looked like them. They was asking for professional baseball players. They was asking for these things. So as they was asking for them, we was bringing them in. We had people coming from all over, and I found them right on Facebook because I didn't know nobody. So I went on Facebook and I just put a plea out. And people began to come. I remember a young lady driving from Atlanta. She had just given birth. Her name is Jasmine Womack. She teaches. She was an educator. She no longer teach because she's teaching people how to publish books. So she does that full time now. But this young lady had just had her baby, and she came with her baby strapped on the front of her, and she was teaching my babies how to do vision boards. Pouring into my baby. Drove from Atlanta to come pour into my baby. People like that was what was coming. And this lady from Texas came on my page, and she was the one that introduced me to anthology and writing. And I told her, I said, I never wrote before. I said, this is new. She said, just write from your heart. And I never heard back from her. And I said, well, maybe mine didn't get selected. So I inboxed her and I said, well, I never heard from you. I said, am I in the book? And she said, yeah. She said, I didn't send you a message back because it was so good. She said, I just sent it on over to the editor. She said, but I was getting ready to send you an email. So that's how I got in my first anthology. And just getting to know other authors and finding out about Brown authors right here in South Carolina was what inspired me to start AALAC, which is the African American Author Literacy Awareness Campaign. And it is to bring awareness to Brown authors all over this world, because when you go in stores, you find us off in the corner. You go in the libraries, you find us off in the corner. We're sectioned off, and there's not a lot of books written by us. But I'm here to tell people we write well. We're not going anywhere. So they better get used to us. I'm grateful for AALAC because it has allowed me the opportunity to meet some amazing authors, to share their story. My job is to share their story. If I don't write another book, I've done what I'm supposed to do with books, as far as that is concerned. But my job is to make sure that other people know about the authors that come across my platform. Every author that come across my platform is for me to let the world know about them. and to bring awareness to literacy. Because if our babies can't read by 3rd grade, they're not gonna read. And people need to know.
That's powerful, because people need to know that there is help out there. You know, we go through so many situations and, you know, being tossed away in a corner and nobody never hears about you. As an author myself, I feel that. I feel that pain right there, because I feel that that's where I've been pushed, you know, on the sidelines. That it is important to know that, yes, there are people like you and your partners that are actually out there still advocating. You know, yes, South Carolina, most of the schools, I will say, as a former school board member, those reading scores, the testing scores have always been below the state average. But we've got to do something, because if we don't, then, you know, our kids grow up and people are going to say, oh, they're illiterate, they can't read, you know, they're going to get pushed into jobs that they're not even going to like, because people are not going to be willing to give them that chance, when in actuality, yes, they can read. You know, and it's just people like you, and I commend you and salute you for taking that step. After all, you were wounded, but you're surviving. And so, you know, because of what you're advocating and what you're out there pushing, it's turning heads. People are noticing now, because things are actually changing. So we've only got a few more minutes, but I really want to tie some more into the successes of what you've done, you know, with the school districts.
So we were in Anderson County, and I can say I can't say that we were very successful with the school district, because we weren't actually in the school district. But as far as with parent satisfaction, I can tell you that I had parents that would send me reviews on Facebook about their kids and how their kids were antisocial and now they're sociable, and how some of them, they didn't know how to pray, but now they can pray. And some of them reading levels jumped from being on 1st grade to 3rd grade. We even had kids that came down from different places because their parents, one parent lived here and one parent may lived in North Carolina or in New York, and they was bringing their kids down for the summer that were a part of our programs, and they was talking about how their kids were down, they were reading on a lower level, but now they were reading on a higher level, and how their confidence. And I look at some of these kids now. Some of these kids have graduated. Some of these kids graduated from high school and gone on to college and graduated from college. One of the young ladies, she was one of our junior helpers. She was actually a junior in high school. She's graduated from Francis Marion University. She works in Spartanburg, working with children in the social working field. She is an amazing singer. We had, oh my God, I tell you, just the experience that we had with those babies and being able to pour into those babies and being able to put that education piece in there was just so amazing. I'll get off topic, but I just want people to know how important education is, and making sure that these babies know how to read. It's very important that we start these things at home, pouring into our babies, spending that time, even if you have to read to your baby for 30 minutes a day. Read to that baby so he can get those words on the inside of him, so he would know what those words mean, and they can structure those sentences. Because if they don't know how to do these things by 3rd grade, they're not going to know how to do it, because they stop structuring sentences and teaching our babies how to read. They stop it. 3rd grade, it stops. It does not go any further. So if our babies don't know how to do stuff by 3rd grade, they are out of luck. They're out of luck.
And that is true, because the test scores show that. Well, okay, we're about to run out of some time here, but I'll give you about a minute, because then I need to close it out. But, you know, because you have so many programs and you're authored and co-authored, would you share with our listeners and our viewers, if they want to get in contact with you, how they can find your book, be a part of your platform, and what they can do as listeners and viewers and members of the community to help you? You've got about a minute to do that.
So if anybody wants to reach out to me, I tell everybody to go to Linktree, Queen of Collaboration. That's the best way. All of my links, all of my platforms are right there in one place. Linktree, Queen of Collaboration. And I just want people to know that they have purpose. God didn't drop you out of the sky. He strategically placed you here. Know that there's a plan for your life. He said he will prosper you and you will walk in good health and you will have hope. So know that.
I just thank you so much. And you really inspired me by your testimony and your story today here on A Place Called Through. And we just thank you for your willingness to give so much back. After all, you have been wounded, but you are surviving. And we just appreciate all that you're doing. And we pray God's continued successes for you. You've heard it here today from A Place Called Through and Inspirational Moments. I am the host, Patricia Wade Goings. I am also an evangelist. I am a health and wellness and life coach. Hey, if you want to reach out to me and you like what you've heard so far, and maybe you have a testimony or story that you want to help encourage and inspire someone, please don't hesitate and reach out to me in area code of 843-608-9744. Hey, if you want to send me an email, do so at pgoings, and that's pgoingswp@gmail.com. Follow me on my Facebook page at A Place Called Through, at Willpower, the Call to Rise Above. And you can go to my website and look for current events that's coming up. Even broadcasters are available there. And you can find that at www.willpower, the Call to Rise Above. It's been our pleasure to have you again as our guest. I am the author of a book, Willpower, the Call to Rise Above. So it is your call. Please find that book on Amazon and also at Barnes & Noble online. Again, I thank you for sharing this time with us today here at A Place Called Through. Blessings and love.